Gauteng Care Crisis Committee has raised urgent concerns over the ongoing delays in funding for NGOs by the Provincial Department of Social Development. As of the 30th of May, at least 40 NGOs remained unpaid, with 14 of these still waiting for their service-level agreements to be issued by the department. These organizations include domestic violence shelters, child and youth care centers, inpatient substance abuse treatment facilities, and residential facilities for persons with disabilities. For more on this, we are now joined by the director at Epilepsy South Africa in Gauteng, Aileen Langley. Aileen, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. I thought that this issue was sorted out last year already because there was the intervention that was announced by the Premier and then also the MEC for Economic Development, Lebogang Maile. Then what happened?
Yes, so we also thought that everything was sorted out last year, but we are now in the third month of the first quarter, and we are one of those 14 organizations who, for our residential program, has not even received an SLA. So we've been operating with no funds since April, and the situation is now really becoming really dire. A residential facility is very expensive to run to reach the minimum standards. We have to feed, in our case, we have to feed 175 people, of which 75 are very frail and need 24-hour care. And the lack of funding really has now brought us to our knees. We have to feed our residents according to a specific menu and their dietary requirements. And we're really at a point now where we don't even have petrol to take our residents for their doctor's appointments, to take them to hospital. We also have a workshop for people who need protective employment, who can't work in the mainstream workplace. And, we pay taxis to bring them from Davidton and Kwatema. We will not be able to pay those taxis this month. And we also have contracts with organizations that not only provide work for our protective workshop beneficiaries and for some of our residents, but they also require that we meet a certain target, and that is also additional funding for us. But at this stage, we are really at a point where we cannot continue looking after our residents.
Yeah. So earlier on this year as well, in March, there was the Oversight Committee inspection that took place. I think it was a 3-day inspection that had taken place. And according to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Bridget Masango, she said that according to the presentation that was given to them by the department and showed to the committee, that 95% of NPOs in Gauteng have already been duly funded, and we have been given an undertaking that by the 31st of March 2025, that those that qualify but have not yet received the funding would have received their funding. So what's happening here?
Okay, so we were at that meeting on the 31st with the MEC, where we received reward letters for all our programs. So in our view, that meeting meant that that we definitely qualified and met all the compliance that they needed from us. Then in April, we were able to sign for 3 of our programs, but those are small programs and doesn't add up to what our residential facilities subsidies bring in. So we signed those SLAs, and only in May were those programs paid, which at least assisted us to pay some of our bills. But we don't understand. I think if there was any communication with us, then at least we know where we where we are standing. Obviously, our families and our residents are now starting to become worried because we try and be as honest with them as possible. But, you know, for our organization, in spite of the very, very generous donations in the community of Springs in terms of food and clothing, we really just can't continue.
Yeah.
So we are starting to go into debt, but you know, our creditors can also no longer just keep on giving us credit when we have no guarantee at this point that the funding will be paid. So what we really, really need is for those last SLAs, for DSD to communicate with us. We have been trying to communicate with our officials, and they don't have an answer for us.
Yeah. What's the worst, Aileen, do you think that could happen if this funding doesn't come through and all of those SLAs are not cleared?
Okay, so I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I'm now sitting with staff who has had no payment for more than a month. They have to work. We are open 24 hours. If they are not there, if they don't come to work anymore, there are people that could possibly die if they don't get care. And like I said, I'm not being dramatic. That is the reality of it. All of my staff have still come to work for the whole of April and the whole of May, but they are also taking a lot of strain. They also have financial commitments. They have children. They have to get their children to school. They have to feed their children. I don't looking after the people. But they have their own families that they have to take care of. And to tell your staff that once again there's not going to be salaries at the end of the month is very demoralizing, and it also it breaks the trust.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
and you just think about the mental impact that has on an individual, as you're saying, having to take care of a family, but you come back home and you don't have any money to show for the work that you've put in and the sacrifices that you've made. Sacrifices that you made, of course, voluntarily so, because nobody forced you to do it. But it's your passion. It's something that you'd like to share and try to make the world a better place. But just in conclusion, quickly, Aileen, what's the last word that you've heard from the Gauteng government?
On Friday, our direct official tried to find out from GDSD, and to quote her, they didn't pick up the phone. We also checked with the finance department that had expected it, that we would have received it by Friday, only the service level agreement. Then we need to get our board members to sign it, and then you normally wait another 2 weeks. So if we don't receive the SLA in this week, we could possibly face closure.
Sure. Is there a possibility of going the legal route at all, trying to get the courts to intervene?
Yes, and we've done that in the past. But we always give our partner, who is DSD, or it should be a partnership, we give them the benefit of the doubt. When they said, by mid-April, all compliant organizations will be paid, we believe them. Even if we go the legal route now, that's months. Our people can't wait months.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Aileen. Thank you for making time for us. Aileen Langley is the Director of Epilepsy South Africa in Gauteng.